1955 AD, 58:49 AM. Astronomers of the Carnegie Institute discover radio signals coming from Jupiter, a phenomenon predicted by Immanuel Velikovsky in his controversial book about an intruder planet called Worlds in Collision. Velikovsky had been spurned by the scientific community. This was reported to Einstein, who vowed to use his influence to have Velikovsky's theory of planetary intrusion put to the test. 9 days later, Albert Einstein was dead, a copy of Velikovsky's Worlds in Collision on his desk. He died at 76 on the 108th day of the year, April 18th. Disneyland opens in Anaheim, California. 1. Pole shift. 2. 20th century events. 1956 AD, 58:50 AM. A volcanic mountain in a remote area of Siberia erupted, called Mount Bezmiany. In Hungary, it is discovered that the leading Communist Party officials were Hungarian Jews. The people of Hungary carried out anti-communist demonstrations and then rioted, demanding a democratic government and the withdrawal of Soviet troops. The Russians, using soldiers and tanks, crushed the rebellion, executing many and killing thousands. 200,000 Hungarians fled the country, and the Soviets installed a new communist dictatorship. The Hungarians appeal to the Western powers for aid against the USSR and are ignored. Anti-communist riots in Poland are violently suppressed, and the Soviets attack Budapest, crushing the revolt there as well. The Encyclopaedia Britannica was the ultimate source for accurate information prior to 1966. The 1956 edition of the Britannica made absolutely no references to any German extermination of Jews in World War II. No mention of 6 million Jews killed, no mention of a Holocaust. Later editions of the Britannica were corrupted, the 1967 and 1970 editions having information added to them that was not present in all the former editions of the encyclopedia. This was the 476th year since the Russians regained their country back from Mongol control in 1480 AD. It was also 1480 years from the fall of Rome, which occurred in 476 AD. Because of Soviet connections to Egypt, the United States and the United Kingdom refused to finance the Aswan High Dam in Egypt, so President Nasser of Egypt seized the Suez Canal for revenues to finance the Aswan Dam. 22 nations discussed the crisis, and Egypt, Jordan and Syria form an alliance of mutual defence, setting up their armed forces under a joint command. 5 days later, the Israelis invade the Sinai Peninsula, which belongs to Egypt. Britain and France bomb Egyptian airfields, for which they are internationally condemned, which was exactly 600 years after the French and British fought the Battle of Poitiers in 1356, the same year a great quake rocked Egypt. The US Supreme Court rules that segregation of public transportation is unconstitutional. The first computer programming language is developed in the United States, Fortran, which is startling for the isometric year for 1956 is the year 2040 AD, when computers will become obsolete. The world's power supplies and generators, satellites, and many of those who know how to use them will be destroyed in a global cataclysm. 1. 20th century events. 2. March of the Titans. 3. Jewish supremacism. 1957 AD, 58:51 AM. In February, US Secretary of State John Foster Dulles said, quote, "The terrific control the Jews have over the news media and the barrage the Jews have built up on congressmen. I am very much concerned over the fact that the Jewish influence here is completely dominating the scene and making it almost impossible to get Congress to do anything they don't approve of. The Israeli embassy is practically dictating to the Congress through influential Jewish people in the country," unquote. This was reiterated by the former chairman of the US Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Thomas Moore, quote, "I've never seen a president, I don't care who he is, stand up to the Jews. They always get what they want. The Israelis know what is going on all the time. I got to the point where I wouldn't write anything down. If the American people understood what a grip these people have got on our government, they would rise up in arms, unquote. At Christmas Island in the Pacific, the UK detonated its first hydrogen bomb. The USSR announced a successful test of an intercontinental ballistic missile. The Soviet city near the Ural Mountains, called Kishtim, of about 150,000 people, was crippled in a gigantic explosion, the accidental detonation of high-quality nuclear waste from a Soviet weapons program. Less than 50,000 people live there now, and untold numbers have died of leukemia and other cancers, and the entire region is a barren wasteland. Soviets suppressed the incidents, but Russian defectors informed the public in London in 1973. The Soviets launched Sputnik 1 into space to orbit at 500 miles elevation. In Little Rock, Arkansas, black students are barred from entering a white school. With armed soldiers, the US government forcibly desegregates American schools. In God We Trust began appearing on American money. The inventor and theorist Wilhelm Reich died in an American federal prison, a true genius and discoverer of orgone energy, the essence of our spirits. His astounding free energy science and inventions alarmed the fossil fuel producing giant megacorporations, and federal court manipulation by corporate influence landed him in prison, his research and books condemned to the fire. Comet Merkos was photographed in August showing two tails, one of plasma and the other of dust. Comet Arend-Roland also was photographed in April. Adam Rutherford released his monumental 4-volume work, Pyramidology, which would continue to be published until 1972. His work attempting to show that the Great Pyramid's measurements were a Bible in stone. 1. Jewish supremacism. 3. 20th century events. 4. The harmonic conquest of space. 5. March of the Titans.